This is the Hypothetically Sound podcast,
hosted by Alec, Randy, and Xavier,
where we take a hypothetical look at the world around us,
exploring the what ifs, maybes, and how comes.
Join in on the unfiltered, raw, and real conversations as we explore the world around us. Welcome back to Hypothetically Sound. Hope you guys are having a great day. We're going to do something a little new on the podcast. If you listened to last episode, you know that I was a part of a group called the SOS Players. It was a great moment in time of my life, and I thought it would be fun to talk to some old friends who were also in the group and see how they felt about it looking back all these years. And fortunately for me, I am joined by a great person. I am joined by Shay. Shay, how are you doing?
Good. Hi. Hello. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for being willing to do this, taking time out of your day, especially this early in the morning. Why don't you tell the people a little about yourself, as much or as little as you want?
Okay. My name is Shay, and I joined SOS in probably 2004 or 2005. I was from a town near Hudson, Wisconsin, which is where SOS was headquartered at the time. And since then, I've moved to Colorado. Colorado Springs is where I call home, although I'm traveling right now, and I'm in Tacoma, Washington, in a very beautiful park, not too far from the Puget Sound.
Nice.
And I guess if I need to tell you more about myself, I work as an archaeologist, and I think I've got a very cool job that I enjoy.
Oh, yes. It's super cool. Like, little kids grow up wanting to be it, so you get to live off the kid dream. No, it's amazing, though. I've always been interested in something like that.
It's very... I love that. I love the job. I love doing the job. I love the report writing. I love the data gathering. I love being outside. I really like the people that I work with as well. Archaeologists are really generally a pretty chill bunch of people. But I will say, if your childhood dream also involves like making lots of money, this isn't the career to follow. Don't follow this dream.
It's definitely a dream because of love. Which is a great thing. Like, not everything needs to revolve around money. Like, obviously, the world works with money, but, you know, having passion for what you do is also important.
Yeah, but it's, I would also say I would be very passionate about having a job that makes lots of money and gives me lots of time off to enjoy, like, the real things that I like. Mm-hmm. The job's, at the end of the day, a job's always still just a job. And I think that's the advice I would have given, like, 18-year-old me. But sure. Overall, I live a pretty happy life with my work in general.
That's good. So you said that you joined SOS around 2004, 2005. Do you remember the first time you found out about SOS?
I do. So I was a new kid at school it must have been 2000. It must have been 2004 because I was a new kid in Somerset. I think I was in like the very end of my middle school year or like their 8th grade there. Mm-hmm. And this girl who was a year older than me, who I'd kind of become friends with, her name was Amanda. She told me about it, and she was like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna go do this audition. You want to come with me?" And I was like really excited that someone had invited me to go do something. As like a new friend, mm-hmm. Something outside of school. And so that was kind of like the biggest appeal about it to me. And then kind of when I learned more about what I was like, oh yeah, I would love to do theater. I would love to do something like that. So that's kind of what got me in. And then Amanda and I both auditioned for SOS, and we both got in. But she was only there for about a year, I believe. Mm-hmm. And she kind of started doing her own thing, and I don't think came back the next year after that.
Which is understandable. You know, it's not for everybody. Well, it definitely wasn't for everybody.
God, no. It's a special bunch.
We were all weird kids looking back. So you mentioned auditioning. Do you remember who you auditioned for and what it was like for you?
Well, I remember Andy Trim was there, obviously.
Mhm.
I think Ryan Gaines and Brandon Roberts, I remember those are like the three people I remember being there.
Okay.
Um, maybe Hannah? And so I don't really remember the audition other than I remember we played a lot of like improv games
Mhm.
and I thought it was so fun. It was like um I remember being really surprised. I was like trying to be funny and make this joke, but I forgot. It was a joke. It was a joke about Michael Jackson's monkey, his pet monkey. And I don't remember. I couldn't remember his name, and someone filled me in on the name, and then people still thought the joke was funny. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, these people are so nice that they even laughed at that dumb joke." I remember being like really surprised at how like, wow, everyone here's so supportive and everyone's
Mhm.
like humoring me and pretending that I'm funny.
It definitely was a unique experience auditioning for SOS. 'Cause I had at that point for me when I joined, like I had just took it was just like 2 months into my first theater class of ever. So like I just started acting. I auditioned because I wanted to spend more time with Hannah. Because she was
Really?
in my theater class, and she told me about SOS, and like, then I saw them, and I saw she was in it, and I was like, I want to spend more time with Hannah just because I like her. So I'm trying to be this
Aw.
like 15-year-old kid that's trying to like uh see if I actually like this girl. And so I go audition to be in it, and it's such a unique experience because like it wasn't like you just walked in and you read a sheet of paper and then you left. You came in the morning, you participated with the group, you did the warm-ups, you did the games, you got to watch them rehearse a little bit, and then during lunch you did your audition. And for me, I auditioned in front of Jenna, Brandon, Andy, and June. This was the last audition June has sat in uh,
Wow.
with SOS was mine, which is like for me is such a really great moment. Uh,
Oh.
and she loved me like instantly. She talked to me after, and she was like, "Yeah, you, like you're not amazing, like but but I loved your attitude. I loved like the presence you had in the room, and we just talked for like the rest of lunch, and it was a great memory I have with June because she didn't have to talk to me. She didn't have to she could have been in audition and let Andy or Brandon or anybody handle it, but she chose to interact with me, which is really cool.
Yeah. June was just a gem. She was a good person. June was golden, man.
Fantastic, and it's so unfortunate and unfair to her how everything ended with SOS and how she was essentially written out of the history of her own company.
Jesus, yeah, I know.
It was unfortunate, but we were kids. We didn't have any say in anything as much as we tried. Uh, and that's life. But away from the negative, let's talk about our time in SOS. Uh, so obviously you said 2004, 2005. I joined late 2005, fall of 2005. Uh, do you have any favorite memories from your time in SOS shows, rehearsals, after hour stuff?
Dodgeball, just all of the dodgeball that we played, and the frisbee tag.
That
You
was
remember
so fun.
that?
Yeah, I loved like it was just random. Like we wouldn't even eat lunch. We would just instantly go outside. Time to play dodgeball. Time to play freeze tag. Time to do whatever. We came up with dodge pong. Uh,
Yeah.
with the
Ah,
dodgeball and tables, acting like we're playing ping pong. Just so many fun, just random games we would do. And everybody
it
was so
was.
athletic. For a bunch of like theater nerds and nerdy people that we were strangely athletic.
I remember getting hit really hard with balls.
And we weren't shy about it. Like, we were full on super competitive in everything too, for no reason.
Yeah, I feel like that. So like the first SOS summer, it felt a lot like summer camp. I imagine
Hmm.
what summer camp would be like, where you're like making all these best friends and like uh I don't know. It was like playing games all day long, but you
Hmm.
were learning. Like there was a ton of. I look back now, that was like how we learned to work together and learn to trust each other and kind of build teamwork and things like that. Like, but at the time, it was like, oh my god, I just get to play a bunch of games all day, every day.
It is crazy. Look, like as a teen, looking or as an adult now, looking back and the amount of time we put in to learning our craft as teens.
Yeah,
We would go and get there at what 10 a.m., 9 or 10 a.m., be there until 4, and have an hour break for lunch from 12 to 1 usually. And so we were working from 10 to 12 and then 1 to 4 on our craft every day in the
yeah,
summer. And that's dedication that you don't see from a lot of teens. And I think that's what made the people in our group us so special is that we were dedicated to doing it.
yeah,
Uh, it's crazy, like looking back, the amount of hours I put in to SOS. My senior year, I I think I only missed a handful of shows. I don't know how
yeah.
I convinced Andy to let me do as many as I did, but I did more SOS than I did school my senior year.
Wow, really? Wow.
And I was fortunate. Not anybody. I don't think anybody else could got away with it. It sounds like I'm bragging, but somehow I had the school like secretary and principal in my back pocket. They loved me for some reason. Like I wasn't a good student. There was no reason for them to love me, but they knew what SOS was, and I would just had to come in the day after going on tour or whatever. Go, hey, I this is the days I'm going to be gone, and they'll go, okay, you're excused.
That's cool. I'm sure. I mean, like, I was gonna say who could like say no to that,
Hmm.
knowing what SOS is, but I'm sure there's plenty of teachers or principals out there who would be
Oh, my
uh,
German
not as
teacher
cool.
hated me. Oh, he hated me. I made one German teacher quit. This is off topic.
What?
She was freshly out of college. I think she was only like 22, and uh, the class was just too much for her. People were too wild. And then there was one day, like our class would break in the middle of it to go to lunch. It was really weird. I hated that system. So we
Hmm.
would like have class for like a half an hour and then break for lunch. And she would let us stop working like 5 minutes before lunch. And so I would put on my headphones and listen to music for 5 minutes before lunch. One day she just wasn't having it. And she like came and like snatched my headphones off my head. And after everybody left, I stayed and me and her got into a loud, heated argument. And then she ended up breaking down and crying. And I felt super bad. I'm like, you're an adult, but you snatched my property and like this is unfair, blah, blah, blah. And then she started crying. She's like, I'm trying to do my best. I don't know what to do. I'm overwhelmed. And then a week later she
Mm.
quit. And
Oh man,
I'm like, I'm sorry, but like you didn't give you a right to snatch my headphones and
sounds
like
like she had a lot going on. I wonder if that was like the last straw type of
mhm.
thing.
But yeah, it's
Man.
I was just like looking back, I'm like, I wasn't as nice as I thought I was.
Okay,
But
but did you
SOS,
learn any German? Can you speak German?
no, I couldn't. I couldn't say a word, and I took 3 years of it. I was in German 4.
Damn.
Like I could I could have maybe at the time I think I could have went to Germany and like talked, but now I couldn't. I don't know if I could count.
Yeah,
It's amazing how the saying "use it or lose it."
totally.
I lost it. It's,
I know I know a couple words. I went to Germany a few years ago. I have a friend who lives there or lived there, and now she lives in Russia now. Shockingly, but I had a friend at the time who lived in Germany, and I went and visited her, and I learned a couple things while I was there, mostly about like, can I have a beer, please?
Only thing that
The
matters.
important things.
uh, so one of the best parts of SOS, at least for me, was performing and then getting to talk to people after.
Yes, like
Looking
breakout sessions.
breakout sessions or people just coming up to you after the show as we're breaking down
Yeah.
set. Do you have any memories of any of those moments, like any ones that have stayed with you all this time?
Um, Actually, yeah, it's uh so I was at like our school had like a go skiing day.
Hmm.
And I was skiing at a ski hill in Dresser, Wisconsin, and someone came up to me and they had recognized me from a show we had done in Osceola like a week before.
Hmm.
And uh getting recognized outside of that context was extremely strange to me. And I guess probably like flattering, like, oh my gosh, they remembered me, my face specifically. Like the show must have been impactful in some way.
Hmm.
I remember that person telling me like how personally they um felt connected to the drunk driving sketch.
Hmm.
Someone in their family had died from a drunk driving accident, and um, it was. I was probably like 15 or 16 at the time, so I was not like equipped to have some type of heart to heart with a stranger about it. But I remember it feeling really like a really personal moment to have with someone who was a total stranger to me,
Hmm.
and the they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to come talk to me about it. And I'm sure the vast majority of people who saw our shows probably never gave it a second thought. But clearly, it was impactful to some people, and I remember that really being driven home to me that day when that person came up and talked to me.
Hmm. And like looking back on SOS, that's maybe one thing they could have pushed more for. Like while we did have like moments of teaching about these topics, obviously because we're talking about them, I think they could have done a little more on preparing us to handle people coming up to us after the show to talk about these issues. Obviously, there's some of us who are really good at it and knew how to handle it, but still think there was a majority of people who couldn't handle that type of interaction, and
Yeah.
I think training probably from a professional would have helped, because obviously we told people we weren't psychologists, we weren't there to tell you what to do, we were just giving you options, and our job was, if you came to us, was to take you to someone who could help you. uh
Right.
but I know for a fact there's a few kids who didn't understand that concept, and there was a few kids who just couldn't talk to people. Just in general, they were just really awkward people.
Do you
uh
have someone in mind?
Lucas, I don't know if you remember Lucas.
Yeah, I do remember Lucas.
uh and there was a couple other kids, I don't remember their names, unfortunate, but they're around the same time of my senior year into my internship. uh so it could have been my fault. I didn't train them well enough. But there was a few times where I had to pull people aside and talk to them about why what they just did wasn't appropriate for what we do. Uh, which is just comes down to, like, you're a 15, 16-year old, and these kids are coming to you because they think you're a professional, but
Some type of
you're still a
authority.
peer. Yeah. uh which is our goal, is that we are peer to peer, and we want these teens to come feel like they can come talk to us.
Right.
And we just needed, I think, a little more hands-on training on how, even role playing, like, we were actors, we could have role played scenarios so kids know when and how to shift the conversation to, let's go get you help, without
And
saying, hey, let's go talk to your principal.
yeah. I think that's a really good point. Because I remember being told, someone might come up to talk to you, and that is exactly what I remember. You bring them to me, you bring them to Andy, you bring them to the principal, the teacher. But it was very much like a. I think maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to ask a child.
Yeah.
We were children. It is a
Yeah.
lot to ask a child to be like, you're about to be the the person who listens to this person and maybe gets them help. But I guess that is part of what SOS was, that there was this type of responsibility. You weren't, while we were like peer to peer, we did appear to others as having some type of knowledge or authority on the matter type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a good idea. I think that would have been really helpful.
And it's no fault. Like they did as I think Andy and the interns did as best as they could. It was an ever evolving world with SOS. Nothing stayed the same for any amount of time. Hence why we were
Right.
constantly writing new skits on new issues that we hadn't had to deal with. And so we're learning new things and dealing with new things. Like we had to write a grief skit for a school that had just lost a group of students.
I
And they
remember
wanted
that.
a very and they wanted a very specific skit for them. And we wrote it and learned it and performed it all in a month. And then we had kids come up to us to talk about grief, and like we weren't prepared for that. None
Yeah, I
like it's
remember
go ahead, sorry.
trying to get prepared for that. I remember there was an effort that, like, this is heavy stuff and people are more than likely going to have strong emotions after this. I remember
Mhm.
that conversation.
From what my and I could be wrong, from my memory, and like Andy and Jenna tried their best to get us to understand that, but I kept taking Sue would come in and like because at that point I was already like me and Hannah were already like we knew we were going to be the intern, so they were letting us do more uh with Jenna and them and John, because John was by himself, so he let Hannah and us help a little bit.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
just remember every time Sue would talk about it, she would take it as like a prime business opportunity. Like, hey, look at us. We can cater to your specific needs. We're gonna use this our grief skit to uh branch out and do specific things for specific schools. And I always felt icky about them. Like, yes, in a business side, this is a great opportunity. If we kill it, it is a great opportunity. They'll have us back. They'll tell other schools, other people about what we did. But you don't have to like hit on it so often.
Right. You should
Like,
just do it because they are asking for it, and that is, I mean, if that's what they need, then and that's something we're able to provide, that's the reason you should be doing it, not
mhm,
for the look what this does for our business side of
yeah.
things.
And
Um,
that was the first time that I got with Sue that I just had this like it started no longer being a group that was about helping teens. It became a business that just happened to help teens.
yeah, yeah. I feel sad that, well, I feel lucky that I got to experience SOS before Sue. I got to
Hmm.
experience June. I got
Yep.
to experience SOS as it was, in a way that I think June was very happy with. I think she
Hmm.
was extremely proud of what SOS was, and what a beautiful legacy it was for her. So I feel really lucky that I got to have that, but also very, very sad that I saw it end, and I saw it declining, and I saw the pain that was happening with. I know it was affecting other people a lot more than it was me. I
Hmm.
started pulling away kind of at that same time. Um, some of it for kind of selfish me, teenager boys relationships
Yeah.
reasons, and I also started working 2 jobs because I was saving up to leave. I really wanted to leave Wisconsin, so I was saving up money when I was 16 to go to college. But I also remember it just there was like a tension when Sue was there that I mean, you know what, all the things that happened with like Megan and things like that, and it just started showing on people's faces. It wasn't like the fun, carefree thing that it was that I first experienced. I remember being warned by Andy from I remember him saying like, your first summer is going to be the best summer ever. It's going to be the best summer of SOS, and all of them after that you're going to be a little less excited about. It's going to be a little more disappointing. And so I always remembered thinking like, is that what he's talking about, or is this actually getting really uncomfortable?
But yeah, it's unfortunate. Like I said, after June passed, uh, the fact that her name wasn't listed on the masthead, the fact that whenever in the description about how the group started, her name wasn't mentioned,
What was it about?
was
What,
the
was there a reason for that? That was so fucked up. It was incredibly
I,
fucked up. Even for like a fucked up person,
mhm.
it's really fucked up. Like how did she
Yeah,
justify that?
he never did. We never, at least maybe I never heard it. Jenna might know, and I guess I'll find out when I talk to her. But yeah, I never found out. And from what I can remember, and I could be wrong because it's been so long, it's just her and June didn't get along at all in
Mm.
like before her passing. And
Mhm.
I think all of us liking June more than Sue might have fed into it as well, and it might have been out of spite. Or maybe she thought June Erdman's name wasn't outside of Hudson, and the Hudson area wasn't working. Maybe
Oh.
she tried expanding things because she expanded to St. Paul, and maybe she
Mhm.
tried before with June's name on there, and people didn't like June for whatever reason. Uh,
That that yeah.
I'm
I don't
trying to
know.
give her the benefit of the
That seems
doubt,
so hard to
but
believe.
I honestly don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I wish I wasn't the guinea pig. Now I'm like, oh, I could have I wish I could hear all the conversations you're about to have with people so I could have some intel.
Right. I'll definitely pass you intel. I'll message you if any juicy details come out during my exploration into SOS.
Did you ever did you and Luke's movie ever overlap?
Yeah, yeah. Luke and I were during that year that I was homeless. He actually offered for me to go live with his mom.
Wow,
Uh,
that's
I didn't
amazing.
take it because I was at that point in my life, I was very hard headed and I didn't want to take anything from anybody.
Sure, I can understand
Like
that.
Andy offered for me to live with him, and like I would spend a night every once in a while so I could shower before tours. But outside of that, I like didn't want help from anybody.
Mhm.
I was just hard headed and stubborn and thought that this was my burden to bear.
Mhm.
Which looking back,
Yeah.
I probably should just took the help from people. Probably would have ended better off. But choices are
Well,
your choices, and no reason to
yeah.
live in regret or anything like that.
But I was just gonna say with Luke, he was, like to me, he was like one of the original SOS players, and he might have
Mhm.
some good background information on the group, pre-Sue, particularly.
Yeah. Yeah. The most wild thing I thought during my time in SOS was staying in people's houses
Oh my
when we went
god,
on
yes.
tour.
Oh my god. I think about that now and I'm like, I would fucking never do that. It seems so
Right?
awkward. It was so awkward, but at the time we were like, this is great.
Yeah, get to meet new people. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, the experiences were fantastic. I don't think I had any bad experiences with any host families. Uh, but it's still like looking back, like that's weird. Like, did my parents didn't know I was staying in some random person's house.
I'm pretty
Uh,
sure mine didn't either.
and like we didn't know them before, but it was always a soccer mom with her like student council kid
Oh,
who is
totally.
the reason we're there. And like we'd go in and like, okay, we have food for you, and then you wake up in the morning and there's like donuts and like it's like a mini
Yeah.
hotel. And
Yeah.
it's I was just wondering, do you have any moments or like I don't want to say
Uh-huh.
awkward stories because that comes across weird. Any memories from any foster or host families?
Um, yes. Okay, so oh gosh. So this was a long time ago, so I might be fuzzy on the details, but I'm gonna give you what I remember. It was
Hmm.
Megan and I and Stephanie, well, I believe, and maybe Tess. Those I think are the people in this play. And we had our host family actually just gave us like the spare apartment or spare room. It was like a little like living area with a pull-out couch and then like maybe a bedroom off to the side. But it was attached to a hair salon. And they were like, don't go through that door. The hair salon is over there. We'll come get you in the morning. And then they left. So it was like four teenage girls in a hair salon.
I feel like that
Um,
was in Iowa.
yeah, middle of nowhere, like somewhere
I I
really far outside of anything we knew. And
I think that was the show where we got there and we thought we were performing for a school, and we pull up and we were the performing act for the graduating class of homeschoolers, and there was 12.
yeah, yeah, that sounds right. It was like in a community center or something.
Yeah, and then, like we rode in, and there was a literal tumbleweed that went through the town. Oh my!
Yeah, I remember, and it was such weird vibes. We kept making like jokes. It was like being in like that. I don't know, House of Wax or something strange. Like
And the best part was
I
they
remember
never
that.
paid us. They
No
never
way.
paid us. Yeah. We got back and they were like, "Yeah, we'll send you the check," because they usually give it to us when we get there. And they're like, "We'll send you the check," and we never got paid from them.
That's fucked up. I was far away.
Oh wow. I forgot about that show until now. The weirdest
Yeah.
show ever.
Yeah, a weird town, like really weird, like deserted, empty streets. We definitely left the hair salon to like walk around the block, and it was like silent. Like no one lived in this town. We definitely like played with hair products and curling irons and in the hair salon when we weren't supposed to.
We did like I know on the boys' side when we had the opportunity, especially like hotels or stuff, we did some bad stuff. But we
Like
were
what?
teens.
What
I was
did you
just like
do?
sneaking out, like
That's not bad.
and
Tell me the bad stuff.
it was mostly that. Like there was a couple times where we would all gather in and we'd like play Truth or Dare, uh,
Oh yeah.
teen stuff in hotel rooms when we were supposed to be separate. The girls would come over or whatever. Uh, nothing scandalous or anything like that, but just Truth or Dare, doing dumb dares, kiss
Spin
this
the
person type
bottle.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
which was fun. Like your kids doing fun stuff. Uh, but my favorite memory from host family, it was me and Mario. Me and Mario became friends super quickly. Like it was absurd how fast we became really good friends.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I remember Mario.
and we decided we got into family had bunk beds, and so Mario. We were both big kids, like, but Mario took the top because I was like, I'm not getting up on top. Like that's not happening. And I had bottom, and we spent the whole night writing raps.
Really?
Yeah, so we wrote a song together and then performed it on the bus on the way home the next day.
I love this. Did anyone record it?
No, I don't think anybody recorded it, but I remember we had to do it a couple times because people like would ask for it. But
Aw.
I don't remember it. I don't have any proof of it anymore. So it could be all figment of my
True.
imagination, but pretty positive it happened.
Aw. That's awesome. I wish it like existed in some physical form.
Oh yeah, it would have been amazing. Uh, Speaking of existing in physical form, I'm gonna ask this to
Mhm.
everybody because see if anybody has it. Do you own or know anyone who owns the
The
SOS
CD.
CD we made?
I own it. I
Do
have
you?
it. Well,
That is amazing.
okay, caveat. I had it, and I bet it's still somewhere at my mom's house because she's a little bit of a hoarder. Bet it's still there somewhere. Yeah.
Because I was thinking about it and I was like, I know I had a copy at some point, and so I searched my house and I found the case,
No!
but not the CD.
So we made that for the gala, right? We recorded it for the gala or at the gala? For the gala, and we sold it
For
at
the
the gala.
gala to sell, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah, I
and
remember that. And I was on
this
it,
is
and
the mhm.
like I felt like such a badass. I think I was only in one sketch, probably. I was never like I was never very good.
You were
I was a
fantastic.
supporting
That's a
cast.
lot. I enjoyed our scenes together. I really did. Like there was few actresses who I really enjoyed performing with. And I thought whenever you would be my Michelle, I thought you gave a
Oh,
very unique and honest job to Michelle that was different than anybody else's. And so it
well,
would change how my JD was, and I really enjoyed acting with you in that.
I
Just because it
remember
was so
that.
different. Like you
I
were like Megan was strong, like just Megan being Megan. Uh,
badass.
yeah, and then like you were like trying to see how to phrase this properly. You were more of a like down to earth, like this is something that would never happen to you type girl. How you portrayed it, and so like you were so loving and sweet, and like it made me look like a bigger dick. Which was great because all of a sudden I yell at you and you're just this sweet girl who's now like quivering from this giant man yelling at you because like you're pregnant, and like it always got more hate uh like after the show, which I loved. Like love me all you want in other parts, but when I'm playing JD, my job is to make you like me in the beginning and then make you hate me by the end of it.
That was such a good character. I think it really shows an actor's ability to act, if you
Hmm.
can really like how much you hate that person
Hmm.
or that character, I should say. Well, thank you. That's a really nice compliment. I appreciate that, and
Yeah, it's honest truth.
it reminds me of something I wanted to say about SOS,
Hmm.
and thinking about how we performed, like because a lot of those plays were written by people who were in SOS, and we all brought our own like experiences and our own touches to these plays. Um, and because we were performing on stage in front of a bunch of teenagers in
Hmm.
like kind of a dare type setting, like people are always like, was it like dare? Um, we SOS was very much a theater company that was not theatrical. Like
Hmm.
I think the type of acting we did was way more well suited to like TV or movies, because I've
Hmm.
been in plays after this, or I've tried out for theater productions, and I am not theatrical. Like there is an expected like kind of like you're supposed to have a big flair if you're on stage and you're on the in the theater, like you should be very over the top, and like over the top in SOS was not going to fly. Like you can't be
Hmm.
over the top. You had to be really sincere and down to earth, and I think a lot of us took that really seriously. Like we need to put ourselves in this character's shoes, and how would we react in this situation and react in this situation. I think that's what made it had to be believable, otherwise it was going to be fucking cheesy.
That is the perfect summary of what I've learned looking back at SOS in a theater capacity. I thought and this is, I worked a lot with Andy to become a good actor for SOS. I worked my ass off to get rid of my ebonics, to become articulate, and just worked very hard to be able to do these roles as an overweight kid, black kid, uh, in roles in schools that weren't exactly meant for me. Uh,
Mhm.
and the people who struggled with SOS acting were generally theater kids. Like they did theater outside of SOS. And it's like you
Mhm.
said, the theater is completely different. I go to college and I start trying to act there and I just can't break through. And I think what they're doing is so weird and it doesn't look good to me. And it took me a while to understand it's because I'm not acting for theater. I am acting for camera.
Mhm.
And it's like you
For
said, and I think
sincerity.
and I think that's what, and we tried to explain that to June. I mean not June, but Sue, when she did the CD, that we need to hop on the medium of YouTube because YouTube was still fresh at that point.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
we tried to convince her to put these into video formats and start selling those. We still do live shows to people, but if we could get on YouTube, get more publicity, and then sell actual video shows and actually like come up with some not scripting, but like sets and stuff that
Mhm.
SOS could expand for years. And
That would have been a
she
really
ended
good
up,
idea.
yeah, and she just didn't do it and then went with the CD. And we made a really bad video that she sent to schools to like show who we were instead of, showing actual us performing a full skit that we could have recorded and put on YouTube.
Mm.
Uh, and that's why it died. Like honestly, that's why SOS died. It couldn't see future trends,
Mhm.
and we didn't hop on a trend that could have worked. Like, don't get me wrong, viral wasn't really a thing in 2007. Like, there were viral videos, obviously,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like the every day there's a new viral video like there is now with TikTok and Shorts and
I was just
Instagram
gonna
Reels
say,
and stuff. The
it could
videos
be
that
like
went
SOS TikTok now.
exactly, which is if I'm going to start a group, which is more what it's going to be geared towards is video formats with the ability to perform live. Because I think that's just how the age we're in is video format uh is much more powerful and accessible. Uh
Definitely.
but yes, went on a random rant there. But yeah, just the acting that we did in SOS is unlike anything that I've ever done again in my life. And I miss it so much because like you said, it was so honest and real and in terms of theater muted. We weren't over the top, and the kids who were over the
Mhm.
top struggled so hard and couldn't understand why it didn't work for them and why they got so many notes
Mhm.
after everything. And even Jenna, to a point after, I don't think like after going to college and doing all of that and coming back and giving notes, she tried making the SOS acting more theater acting.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, And so that worked a little bit because now mostly because the kids who were coming in were theater kids, and so it worked for them. But yeah, like now that you talk about that, it explains my difficulty transitioning to theater, uh, and the difficulty of some of the kids who were theater kids in SOS.
Yeah. I mean, it was it was a strange it had the potential to be extremely cheesy, and, like, the
Mhm.
principle or the concept of it, like, when I try to explain it to other people, nowadays, I'm like, "It's like Dare, but theater?" They're like, "Okay, fucking weirdo."
Right?
It
It's
sounds
so hard to
super
explain.
cringy. it sounds so cringy. But I obviously am biased, but I think it was delivered in a way that was not. And I think that was the goal from the start, was to be like sincere. So people felt like they could connect to the subject matter and I guess just think about it, think critically about it, think there are options if XYZ happens. I don't have to think this or say this or do this in this situation.
Mhm.
Yeah. Guess you got to get in front of a camera. Time to leave the
Exactly.
theater behind.
We'll see. Who knows what the world has in store for old Randy? Uh,
Good things, I hope. Only good
hopefully,
things.
I'll work for it. That's all I know. Something good eventually
Sounds,
happen. I'm meant for
yeah,
more. That's how I look at life. As long as I
always.
keep working, eventually you'll get something. Uh,
I think that's
so we're
true.
down to our last question. It's like a two-part question. Uh,
Okay.
has or did SOS impact how you grew as an adult?
Yes, 100%. Um, so as an adult, SOS has definitely affected me. It affected the entire trajectory of my life. Even though I did not pursue theater, um, I am if I hadn't done SOS, I would be a completely different person.
Mhm,
Um, and I'm sure that's true for a lot of people. And that's so easy to say about anything. But SOS taught me so much about how to interact with people.
mhm,
Um, Public speaking, like what a good skill that is. How to not be nervous. And I think a lot of, um, oh man, this is a hard question. I was a really awkward kid, and I know all of us were in high school, but I felt extremely awkward, especially in my SOS days. And I felt very much like an outsider looking in on just about everything, and even SOS to a big extent. But I think there were some times when I felt like it was okay to be a little bit vulnerable with people.
mhm,
And that's a skill that it's a skill. It's a skill that I recognize is a skill to be able
mhm,
to be vulnerable with people appropriately, and like in a way with people that you can trust. But that's how you build relationships, is to give a little bit of yourself and also be there ready to receive what other people are giving you when they're returning that favor,
mhm,
of vulnerability. And it's something that I didn't think of it in those terms back then, and have only maybe thought about it in those terms, recently. I've done some therapy recently over the last couple of years, and I think about the friends that I do have now are the people I was able to be vulnerable with, and um, I think SOS taught me a lot about that, uh, which is strange. I mean, there are a lot of people I didn't keep in contact with. We were kind of talking about that earlier.
mhm.
Um, let's see what else. Being brave too,
Yeah.
being willing to throw any joke at the wall and hope something sticks. Being silly and talking to new people and introducing yourself to new people, like all these people skills. I think I learned or were strengthened by being in SOS.
Mhm,
And now I sometimes seek out, since I've been traveling a lot, I seek out improv groups because I find that they're a very similar group of people. They're very supportive and willing to laugh at your dumb jokes and like supportive in like a we'll laugh at your bad jokes kind of way,
yeah.
and we will support you being on stage and doing something silly and not make you feel dumb, because there's so many people in this world who would love to make you feel stupid for saying and doing silly things,
Yeah.
but being able to find people like those people in SOS who are not like that is really good for your mental health, I think. And so I seek that out still in the friends that I have now. And so a lot of those friends actually have come from theater or from improv groups.
That makes me happy.
That's silly. I recently watched The Office, and like the fact that I had never watched it before. The fact that Steve Carell's character is like in a cringy improv group. I'm like, oh, I should stop telling people I go to improv.
No, never stop telling people to go to improv.
Should not tell my boss I do that on the weekends.
Improv is amazing, and everybody should do it. It makes for such better people in the world if everybody just did improv. Open your mind.
Seriously, it's good for you. Like, get up there and just try something.
Exactly.
It's a safe environment.
It's super easy. Just don't say no.
Yeah, it's really the only the only rule. Just say yes.
Yes, and what do you mean yes and? Well, you say yes, and then you come up with whatever your mind wants to say. And then the other person amazingly will go, yes, and
and there's a good life philosophy. Like, have you seen that movie Yes Man with Jim Carrey in it? It's like that. It turned out great for him. He got Zooey Deschanel in the end.
I mean, right? Who would complain? I mean, obviously there's times to say no, but like, hey, send me all your money. It's a perfectly okay opportunity to say no.
Yeah, that's true. I wanted to ask you a question. Because I have an answer, but I was going to ask you: do you wish, or have you ever thought of plays or sketches you wish we would have written, or topics we would have done, but didn't?
Yeah. Looking back, I wish we would have done one on interracial dating.
Yeah.
I know in the past they had something close to it and it just went away. But I wish we would have updated the interracial dating one. I'm glad was able to write cyberbullying. I thought that was necessary, especially in a time where cyberbullying was on an uptick. I, as much as I love racism, like I love it so much, I even did it in my senior capstone for my degree. I wish we would have updated that and made it more powerful and actually like just bigger. I wish it was longer and bigger. Like we
or
took
more of them.
Yeah, but it was hard with the lack of diversity in the group. Like my ultimate dream with like racism is that we start like we did, we're talking, and then when we start talking about the group, a group of white kids come out, a group of black kids come out, and then it just grows and grows and like up to the point eventually where we're just stuck in the middle of this hate, and then we had to break out and like just something like that. And I think one other skit that I think would have been beneficial would have been just a skit of friendship, like a lighthearted just skit about like what friendship is to us. Like it literally could have just been us sitting down and just talking about what we thought friendship was, what a friend is. Because like at that young age, you think someone's your friend because they like shower you with attention and not understanding that not all attention is good attention. So maybe even a grooming skit. Like as I'm talking, I'm like, that kind of sounds like I'm talking about someone grooming you. But even that, I think looking back in like a trends on TikTok where so Demi Lovato put out a song recently called 1731 or 3117, where she talks about how Wilder Valderrama they first met when she was 17 and he was 31. And then people like use that sound to share their stories of being groomed. As like, I saw one that was like a 13-year-old and a 19-year-old, 15-year-old and a 22-year-old. and I didn't real and they're like 20, so they were our age around the time, uh, or they would have been young enough to see our show,
Mhm.
and it's something that we didn't think about, and I think it would have been very beneficial now looking back to
Yeah.
have to help people understand that these 20-year-olds should not be in your life.
Yeah.
There's zero reason for a 22-year-old to be talking to a 15-year-old. Zero
Absolutely.
reason.
Unless you're
You,
Andy Burnstrom.
yeah, unless it's part of an organization where it's not one
Unless
on
he's
one.
Yeah. Sorry,
And
that was a
Andy
bad joke.
never. No, it's a great joke. Andy would never have called you on your home and chatted
No.
with you for hours on end.
No. God, no.
But yeah, those
I
are off the top of my head I can think of.
think those are really good and, fucking really good ideas, and I think the one you were just talking about with grooming, uh, kind of plays into what I think if I could have written a sketch, or if I think a sketch that should have been written maybe for me
Mhm,
personally. Um, I think like a relationships, one about relationships and having a healthy relationship, healthy
mhm,
boundaries. Like you said, not all attention is good attention, healthy attention.
mhm.
Um, yeah, and I think that could play into either friendships or relationships, how to identify, uh, toxic behaviors in people,
Yep.
when it's okay to say, I don't want this person in my life anymore, and be able to say no, to certain requests or to just people in general, and feel okay about it. Don't feel obligated. Um, I don't know. One very hard lesson I've learned in life is that someone, even though someone's your family,
Mhm,
if they don't treat you like a person, like an adult with someone they respect, they don't automatically deserve your respect. You
mhm.
don't have to keep them in your life just because they're family, and it's
100%.
okay. And you don't have to feel guilty about that either. And I think that would be
100%.
something. I think relationships and boundaries would be really healthy things to talk about as teenagers. And I don't think that's something that I ever learned. I mean, where do you learn something like that if
Mhm.
not a place like SOS?
Yeah. Especially back then. Yeah. Like now, obviously, like I said, trends on TikTok can maybe help people if that's
Hmm.
if you go looking for it, or if you see it by accident and then you keep looking, it can help. But yeah, back when we were doing it, no one talked about these things. It wasn't readily available, like Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, and all of that. Still wasn't.
Podcasts, yeah.
It wasn't like MySpace was a tool for like, oh, look at these my top 10 friends.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
that was
I
the
forgot
thing.
about that.
Popularity was a thing with social media. It wasn't about the ease of access of information that it is today.
Oh, yeah. There's so many tools out there.
Hmm.
Another good sketch idea would be like responsible consumption of information and thinking critically about your sources and not just reading something and
Hmm.
automatically believing it. Mom's on Facebook, and then
Yeah.
just regurgitating that information as fact.
Hmm.
But maybe that would be a sketch for older people too.
And why I know SOS in on Facebook or in just media in general, YouTube, Facebook would be so successful is I know you say you're not on Facebook very often, but I watch videos on Facebook at night before I go to bed. And there is a guy named Darmal. Uh and he makes really cheesy videos on social issues. So like for example, one was about it was like this owner degraded his employee, but then the employee grew up to do this. And so it was this employee who was like trying to help customers, and the employer was like, don't do this, we're very strict, it's not about the customers,
Hmm.
it's about my business, I want to make money. And then he did it again and the owner fired him, and then this employee went and made his own business doing his model of helping the customers, and then the customers went to this new employee's shop, and the owner had to close his store because he ran out of business.
Wow.
And so that's the type of like content he makes, and it gets millions and millions of views and thousands of comments of people like, yeah, see, blah blah blah. And that's how I know SOS would be successful, if we would have done stuff like that, or even if I started a group. How I know it can be successful if I get into that niche of that, but do it well, is people watch that like legitly. My mom brought it up one day, and it wasn't satire. Like, she brought it up as like, have you seen this? And I'm like,
Wow.
dude, super cheesy. Like, it is the remedial of remedial, do the right thing type videos.
Right.
Like, the acting's cheesy, the story's cheesy.
Sure. But like,
it
if
works.
if the message is there,
Yeah.
and yeah, I like that idea. I think SOS for a new age could have been really good. Could have been great.
With all that, I want to thank you very, very, very much for taking the time to do this.
Yeah.
It has been amazing reminiscing with you about SOS, hearing your thoughts on SOS, hearing just your thoughts on life in general, especially after so long. Like we said before the podcast, we were talking, and last time we saw each other, even really talk to each other, was like 2006, 2007. I think I looked at our message, and I think we met a few years back for like a day. uh, but yeah, so it's been fantastic. Now is the time of the podcast where I let people do anything they want. So if there's anything you want to shout out, anything you want people to do, feel free to say anything. And if not, just say goodbye to the people, and then I'll do an outro.
Oh man. I guess I would just say be good to your friends, and be good to your family, and be good to the people in your life, but also make sure they're good to you. Yeah, reach out more. Reach out to a friend today, and sometimes it's okay to be awkward or nervous or scared to reach out to somebody, and it's okay to do it anyways.
100%.
I wish I had something more concrete.
No, that
feel like
was
I'm on
perfect.
the spot.
It is very on tone for everything that we did today and everything we talked about today. Yeah, if you're listening to this and you have a friend that you haven't talked to in a while, I guarantee, like, friendship isn't about the amount of time you talk. I saw this the other day. People were talking about their friendships, how they'll talk for a certain amount of time and then literally not talk for like a year, and then out of the blue message each other, and it's like no time has passed. Because people, if you're actually friends with someone, you understand that people have lives, and not everything needs to be communicated all the time.
Yeah.
It's just about mutual respect. And I think that's what comes down. If we had an actual friendship and we were cool with each other, knowing that you went and had such an amazing life, I'm out here doing my life, people are out doing their lives, things get lost in translation. But as long as you're willing to, at some point, try to reach out again and talk, like, it's perfectly fine. No hard feelings from anybody. And I think that's what people need to understand. You don't need, with phones and everything, people think you need to answer that. Why did you look at my text and not respond? Like, it's a bad mental state to be in. Just enjoy your life,
point.
and when people communicate, just communicate back. Oh no, I choked on my spit. But thank you again for being a part of this podcast. Thank you everybody at home for listening. There will be more parts of this, looking in at SOS and how people feel and things like that. And if this isn't something you guys enjoy at home, leave comments, let us know, and be more things like this where we talk about random things that are personal. So for now, thank you guys again. Make sure to go find us on hypotheticallysound.podbean.com. If you're into nerd stuff, we have a nerd podcast called Hypothetically Sound Presents Nerd Shit. So you can find that on Podbean as well, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on everything, Hypothetically Sound. So again, thank you, Shay, for being a part of this. Thank you guys at home for listening. And until next time, deuces. Thank you guys again for listening. One last thing before the episode ends. Shay is very passionate about a nonprofit, and I want to make sure I give it its time. It is the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women USA. It is an organization dedicated to making sure the stories of missing Indigenous people are heard, to making sure their disappearances are taken seriously and investigated fully, and also to helping combat the risk factors that contribute to murder rate of Indigenous women that is 6 times higher than those of non-Indigenous people. You can find a link to support the cause in our description or on our Facebook or Twitter page. Again, it is a very important mission. It is the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women USA project. So go, if you have any extra money or even to just spread the awareness, go give it a share, give it a like. It is obviously a very important topic. But thank you guys again for listening. Again, it is the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women USA project. Go as much as you can. Thank you for listening to Hypothetically Sound. We hope you enjoyed the episode. All episodes can be found at hypotheticallysound.podbean.com, as well as on Apple, Spotify, and Pandora. For full unedited video versions of the podcast, please visit us at youtube.com/hypotheticallysound.